Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Real Talk with Brian Poduska. I am not Brian Poduska, but I am introducing him. I'm Brian's co-host, and Brian has a show, Real Talk, and brings on guests. He's got a good one today. Good afternoon, Brian. How are you doing?
Good, Lennon. How are you today?
Man, I'm good. I'm good. Excited. That music on your intro gets me all pumped up and ready to go. I get a little adrenaline going. So how's everything in the property management world?
Oh, it's crazy, just like the rest of the world. But no, it's going as well as possible, and better than I expected, given all the surroundings that we had in 2020.
Right, absolutely. So tell everybody how a little bit about Real Property Management and also how they can get in touch with you. We'll be running that information across the bottom of the screen, but I want you to go ahead and share that with everyone.
Yes, absolutely. So we are Real Property Management Focus, where we focus on your real estate investments. So if you're an investor or just somebody who has fallen into a property through inheritance or whatnot, we can help you manage that property from a rental standpoint. So we screen tenants, we place tenants, we collect rent, we do maintenance. We help you strategically purchase your next property, as well as I'm a realtor and can help in that vein as well. So we do full service property management. You can reach us at 469-820-0088 or www.realpmfocus.com. And yeah, that's our info is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Happy to help you out if you're looking at getting into investing or looking for help with existing assets that you may have.
Awesome. So got a guest today. Tell us a little bit about your guest, and then we'll bring him in and we're going to get this started. He's got some really interesting things to talk about.
Yeah, no, thanks. And yeah, so our guest today is Brent Holdburg. He is with Keller Williams currently. So he's been in real estate for 9 going on 10 years, and he has a very interesting background. Brent was a professional athlete and a coach, so shares that background, at least the coaching aspect, with you, Landon, and has a really good perspective given where he's come from in life and how that translates into real estate. So I thought his background and his personality and his work ethic fits in really well with the things that make the difference, the themes for this radio show, and then also our target audience being realtors. So, without further ado, let's bring in Brent.
What's up, guys?
Hey, Brent.
Hey, Brent. How are you?
Thanks for having me on.
All right. So, Brian, you have any questions for him before? Because I'm gonna hammer him with questions here. You know that.
Well, let's just see how you're doing today. How are you doing today, Brent? You all right?
Yeah, I'm all right. Just putting out fires left and right.
That's real estate in DFW nowadays, isn't it?
I mean, you're working. Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah. No, I don't have any particular questions for you just yet. We'll get there a little bit later, but Landon, I think has a few that just we'll talk a little bit about your background. You can provide some of that, and we'll dive a little bit deeper into some of the lessons that you've learned from being a professional athlete, successes, failures, all that sort of thing, and how that's translated to real estate. That'll be kind of the direction we'll go.
Sounds good.
Cool, man.
Brent, tell us a little bit first about who you work with and how long you've been there, and give us some background on that.
Yeah, so I'm the director of ops for the SWR Group at Keller Williams. We're one of the largest, if not the largest, Keller Williams team in the world, based right out of Frisco. And my day-to-day things, I mean, I still sell and do the buy side too, but I usually am helping just review contracts, putting out fires for my agents, and just making sure the company runs smooth.
Okay. And how long have you been with Keller? Or how long have you been in the real estate business?
I've been in real estate, going on 10 years. Our firm merged with Keller Williams in July of last year. And so we were Small World Realty, and we became the SWR Group at Keller Williams.
Awesome. So now let's get into all this stuff that we talked about before, which I'm fascinated with. And I shared with you, Brent, that and as Brian said, we created a show and a platform that talks about the things that make the difference, what takes us from being acceptable to being exceptional. You've been a pro athlete, so that's an elite level. So let's just talk a little bit. I want you to go a little bit through your history of what you did before you got into real estate, and just talk a little bit about your life, and then we're going to talk about how you achieved that level.
Sure. Well, I just competed in my 5th World's Strongest Man event, and
I'm not laughing at you.
I am.
So, I was a professional figure skater. I started back in 1991. I was 7 years old, and picked up to it pretty quick. But I kind of learned the hard way that hard work is much more important than talent. Because I coasted on physical or natural ability and talent for my first 12 years of my career, basically, until it got to the point where I wasn't able to make it up to the top ranks, and I contemplated quitting. I reached out to an official and said, "What do you think? Should I just hang it up? Because I don't want to continue. If I'm wasting my time, then I'm not going to continue." So I said, "Should I just quit, or am I any good?" She goes, "No, you're good, but you need to move." So I moved from Dallas. I went to San Jose in 2003. I was 19 years old, and went to go take from some Olympic champions. And the first day I get out there, I realized, oh, this is what work is. This is actual work. What I was doing the past 12 years is I was telling myself I was doing work. But deep in your heart, you're not actually putting in the right amount of work, the right effort, if you want to make it to the top. And if you don't, that's fine. But if you really want to make it to the upper echelon of whatever you're doing, you've got to put in the work, and an extraordinary amount of work to become extraordinary.
Absolutely. That old saying, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work. Yep. I think that's true in everything. And you're right. I mean, I think, I've been around in coaching and I've been there myself. I mean, I'm like you in college. I really got challenged. I got challenged to put in more and do more, even though I convinced myself that I was doing everything that I could do. And right. we just don't really, unless you have those people around us. And I think that, you talked about moving, and I think sometimes we need to find that environment that's going to be conducive to our success. That is going to push us harder. So talk a little bit about that. What was what made the difference when you moved and you got to that environment where you saw a different level of work ethic? And how did that impact you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and also on the flip side, and you can attest to this, is hard work can only take you so far, though, right? If you want to make it to the very top, you do have to have talent mixed in with that. Whatever you do, you have to be naturally good at it, combined with work ethic, if you want to take it to the absolute extremes. Right. But once I got out there, I mean, I just realized that, I thought I was working the whole time. This is, you can't just go in and just, half-ass it for, a couple hours a day. I mean, I was putting in 3 hours a day, off ice, skating 6 days a week. And, I would just go back to my apartment and just collapse, just tired, right? 2 days for 6 days a week. And, right when you kind of think like, this kind of sucks, I don't know if I really want to do this. Well, all of a sudden you're starting to see results, right? You're starting to see performance increases. You start to see, better results at competitions, and, oh, wow, I'm moving up, and, oh my God, the Team USA is now going to send me out of the country to represent our country. So, that was a nice step, and you realize, okay, I'm on the right path. Let's keep going. Let's just continue with it.
Right. And you're so right about that. I remember in college thinking that there's nobody that works any harder than me when I'm there working, right? Mm-hmm. If it's a 3-hour practice or if it's off season, nobody was out working me. Yep. But what I didn't realize is all the extra time that all those other guys were putting in. And when you talk about professional athletes like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and you hear about how everybody practices, and they'll put in some extra time, but these guys are getting there 2 to 3 hours before practice or staying 2 to 3 hours late. Yep. And it's a lifestyle. It really consumes them. And I think for a lot of us in the work world, whether it's a real estate agent, whatever career you're in, I think that if we're aware of that, and I want to get your opinion on this, but if we're aware that if we're working our butts off 8 hours a day, but our competitors working their butts off 15 hours a day, we don't need to expect to get the same results they're getting. Would you agree with that?
I would, but I just, it depends how smart they're working, right? Because
True.
sometimes it's just spinning their wheels. But, it just depends if you're putting in work that actually moves the needle. I think that's the big thing. And if you're working 15 hours a day, you need to spend some money and leverage that out, because you're going to burn out quick.
Right.
I would
what
say.
What if you enjoy it though? I mean, what if that is your, let's take away kids, let's take away family.
I was going to say you won't stay married long.
I was going to say that same thing. You probably are by yourself,
right?
Hours a day.
But some people really enjoy that. I mean, some people enjoy their work, and that's I've told people before, as long as you have balance. I mean, if you're giving the time to your family, you need to give. If you're giving the time to your kids, you need to give. And your business or whatever you're doing is supplying you with the things that you need, and you're happy, that's all that matters.
Yep.
But I do think that sometimes people look at others and think that they should have what they have when they may not realize what they have been putting in, or like you said, maybe who they've hired to help them. Right. So how do we learn to do that? How do we learn to do that, Brent?
Well, I mean, I think it comes from, small victories, right? As you're putting in your work and you start to see little incremental steps of progress and rewards, then I think you can get into it more and more and realize, hey, I'm on the right path. This is working for me. But like if you look at how you said people will look at everyone else and say, oh, I should have that. What's the saying about everyone's an overnight success, but they don't see the 20 years that went into it.
Yeah. It took me 15 years to become an overnight success.
Yeah, basically that's it. Yeah. So, I mean, people see that a lot, and it happens in our industry all the time. Like, oh, look at that agent. They're a top producer. They haven't even been doing it long. I'm like, yeah, because they worked hard and they did it the right way, right? They weren't afraid to take risks. And in business, if you're not willing to take risks, you'll kind of probably just be mediocre, right? There's a lot of rewards that come from taking risks, and even small risks, right? Calling people and asking for business. Right, reaching out and doing things that make you uncomfortable. That's what's going to take you to the next level. Because I want to stay comfortable.
I'd like to build on that one because we talked about it a little bit earlier about you moving out of town to focus on honing your craft in the sports world. Well, I think you almost have to do things that take you out of your comfort zone, whether the small things like you said about asking for business, or heck, bigger things like making a career change. You're right. If you don't take risks, you're not going to get the rewards. And I think that applies along the entire spectrum of small risks to bigger risks, as long as, you have calculation behind those risks as you're going.
Yep. Well, and that's big, Brian, what you said about, making a change sometimes, because it's also important to know if there's not anywhere further you can go in your industry, right? So even in skating for me, like like Landon was saying, the people that come in and put in the extra hours and they sit there and they live and they breathe it and it's a passion, that wasn't me. That definitely wasn't me. I would do exactly what I was told to do and do it to the best of my abilities, but I wasn't going to go out of my way on my own. I just wasn't passionate enough about it. So, I mean, I got to be top 7 in the country, but I wasn't going to make it that top 3. Because to go from 7 to up there, I mean, that's a whole different level. And, I saw the writing on the wall. Like, okay, if I had maybe stayed in it and really sacrificed, maybe I'd get 4th, but then I'd be miserable. So I decided, hey, this sucks. Let's go do something else.
So after figure skating, what did you do?
Yeah, so I got injured. I was actually in a wheelchair for 6 weeks and living the party life. Gained a bunch of weight and then decided, all right, well, I moved back to Texas. I guess I'll coach. And I had started coaching when I was like 16. So, here I was 24. Yeah, 24. And I was like, oh, I guess I'll coach for a little bit. But my fiance at the time was still living in California. And we decided, hey, we don't have any kids or anything. Let's go travel. So we signed on with Disney on Ice, which is something we actually made fun of for a long time before we even started. We're like, that's where they go. Like, that was always a joke. And I was like, well, hell, if they want to pay me to go around the world, then that's fine. So we went with Disney for 2.5 years. My wife got injured, and we got off the road in 2010. And I was like, look, I'm going to coach for a while, but this is not going to be my long-term career. So I went and got my real estate license, and always worked towards becoming a full-time agent.
So let's talk a little bit now that we're in that, about some things that, or do you feel like there's things that you learned as an athlete that you've been able to bring along with you in your professional world that
100%.
has helped you, that has really helped you reach an exceptional level?
Yeah, because when you're used to getting kicked in the teeth, when you get kicked in the teeth in a real estate deal, it's just another day, right? It's the people that don't know how to handle failure, and failure sucks. But if you've experienced it enough and you just know how to push through it, and you keep a positive attitude, and it's just like, that's it, I'll go get it another day, then that's going to help out in business for sure. Because I mean, it's easy in real estate. If you have a deal that goes south, and buyer or seller mad at you, or you just feel guilty, I mean, it's easy to just want to just turn the lights off and turn in your license and go get a real job. So
right.
Used to it, it's just part of the territory.
Yeah, I had a coach tell me one time that don't get used to losing, but learn to fail.
Yeah,
because it's going to happen, and it really is. I mean, it's the, what's the old thing about Michael Jordan? How many game-winning shots he actually missed versus the ones that he
or Gretzky
that he made.
Yeah,
yep.
Absolutely.
I mean, we see their highlight reels, and I think sometimes it's in the real estate world. Do you think sometimes it's discouraging for some people, because when you look at social media, you see everybody's highlight reel? You don't see the struggles that those successful agents are going through and the challenges they're going through.
Yep.
We don't document those because that's really not fun to nobody wants to watch that, really.
That's what I was going to say. Does anyone want to see it?
Yeah, no one wants to see that. But when we're yeah. So I think that sometimes we have a misconception of what success really is, because there's a lot of failures that go along with success, right? Or wrong?
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, you see it all the time, right? And especially, let's say you're following a successful real estate agent, and they put oh, look at the new Mercedes I got, check out this listing. And, you're just getting into it, and you're like, well, all I have is some leases right now. How am I going to do that? Well, everybody starts somewhere, right? That's why, like, on our team, half of our guys are part-time agents. And the main reason for that is that they do have another income stream coming in, so they don't get discouraged so easy. They don't get desperate, and they can put their head down and just work until they're ready to make that transition. So, yeah, as far as social media goes, I mean, it's just, I don't know, I'm not on it that much, but just, yeah, people put their perfect life out there, and anybody who does otherwise, you don't want to see that. So just take it with a grain of salt for what it is.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of like we all get to watch the games, but we don't get to watch the practices, right? And so we don't see the frustrations that some of our role model athletes go through until they get out there on a game day, and we're watching, the brilliance of them. You said something about your agents being part-time and having something to fall back on. I want to talk about that a little bit. I mean, we're seeing more and more and more of people having side hustles, and I want you to talk a little bit about why it's important. And I'm not calling real estate a side hustle, nope. But for a lot of people that are trying to make that transition into entrepreneurship, which being a real estate agent is, how important is it to kind of have that foundation built before you leave your day job, so to speak?
Well, it's huge, because, the scary thing is 83% of all real estate agents quit in their first year. 83%. And the main reasons for that, we say there's 3 reasons. One is they're told by their broker, hey, you're going to make $100,000 your first year, I guarantee it. Number 2, they're not allowed to do it part-time. Most firms won't let you do it part-time. And then the third reason is they don't get any support along the way. So you're saying, okay, so I can't have any type of income coming in. You promised me I was going to make $100,000, and you're not even answering my calls. I'm out. This sucks, right? So that's why, I mean, we really like people to have their own, even if it's not their ideal job, as long as they have some income so that they can work on their passion. You know, Brian's known me for a little while, and, you know, at one point I was running, I think, 5 businesses at once, everything just side hustle, side hustle, side hustle. I mean, even now I'm launching another little business just to diversify and just have different income streams coming, because 1, I like it, but 2, it keeps me interested. I can't just sit and do one thing. I'm all over the place doing a bunch of stuff. Might be a problem.
No, actually, I can relate to that. It's hard for me to. I mean, I just see other challenges, and part of the other challenge is being able to do this and that. Can I do them both? Can I juggle that and be successful? You brought up something about other agencies that won't let you have a part-time job.
Yep.
And the differences in that. Let's talk about that. And I'm not, looking to disparage other agencies, but let's talk about the difference. Why is Keller Williams and the way that you guys do it and how you help people different than what a lot of other people are? Because you did say that 3 things. You're promised $100,000. You're going to get all this support. And Brent, I've been around real estate for 18 years. What you're saying is exactly true.
Yep.
And it's really disheartening because there's a lot of good people that get so discouraged because it doesn't have to be that way. There are agencies like yours that really have a blueprint that helps them.
I would say too, I mean, Keller Williams has always taken on part-time agents as well, but mostly it's our team is specific to people who want to start part-time, because we do offer 24/7 support, literally 24/7. And we'll take calls at, 1, 2 a.m. But, the main thing is that because we're available when people get off of their jobs, that's where you're able to do it, right? Because if you're working your job and you get off at 5 and you're like, okay, now I've got questions about this deal that it's going to go through. I have to, I've got a listing presentation in 10 minutes. Well, if the office or the market center, wherever you're at, is closed, you're not going to really get an answer immediately. So that's why we're such a destination for agents that want to do it part-time and have no intention of going full-time, or agents that, want to transition, or, investors or flippers or stay-at-home moms or people that are just tired of the corporate world. I mean, that's why I think it's so good that we encourage them, because a lot of firms, and I'm not saying who they are, but they don't see value in a part-time agent. And I was like, I've seen part-time agents make well into the 6 figures. I mean, just a couple of big deals a year and you're doing well. And the other reason I say is when you have a regular job, there's your pipeline. All your coworkers are right there. So, I mean, I think it's kind of a no-brainer. Let them do that. And if they really enjoy it and they're making money, they're going to switch over full-time anyways.
Right. One of the negatives that I have heard about part-timers is that, well, what if I want to see a home at 3:00 in the afternoon and they have a job? Tell me a little bit about how important it is to have a team together that can fill those gaps and work together.
Well, that's exactly right. So we've got just about 135 agents on our team.
How many?
About 135.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we're pretty big. So, but we do kind of have a very family-oriented atmosphere, right? We all know each other, even though it's hard with COVID, but we all, participate in weekly Zooms. And, we don't do things necessarily formally. Like if someone's like, hey, can someone show a listing for me at 3:00? Sure, I'll go grab it. No, I'll pay you a $50 gift card. No, don't worry about it. Get me the next time. So we have support that nobody ever feels that like, oh my God, I can't do this while I have a regular job. But I mean, most buyers aren't going to say I need to see it at 3:00. They're going to be like because they have their own jobs, right?
Right.
Or if it's on a weekend. So, but if there is something that comes up, I mean, we're spread out. We have offices in DFW. We're in Austin, San Antonio, and just about to expand down to Houston. So, I mean, we can cover pretty much the state of Texas, the I-35 corridor, and help anybody out along that way. Okay.
So, what are some other things that, as maybe someone just wanting to get into real estate and trying to find the right fit and the right broker, what are some things that you would advise them or recommend for them?
So I think I would ask, the number one thing you need to know is how are they going to train you? Because when you get out of real estate school, you usually don't know too much. And how are you going to support me? If I have a question, and I'm not saying you have to do 1 a.m. calls or whatever, right? But if it's 7:30 and you're just like, this is kind of blowing up, or, I've got a question on this contract that's coming in, or oh my God, there's multiple offers and they need an answer right now. How quickly are you going to get back to me? Are you going to really be there to hold my hand and support me? One of the things that we do for our guys to really create peace of mind is we review all their docs before they go out. Anything goes to our broker, who is a master instructor at Champions. All goes through him before it goes out. So that just gives agents peace of mind, because, they all have families, they all have other jobs, or most of them do. So they don't need the stress of saying, oh my God, did I fill out a contract wrong, right? So we're there to support them. And I think they need to make sure that whoever they go with is a good fit for them, and that they will support them, educate them, and back them up.
Okay. Brian, do you have any questions or any input here?
I've got questions for them. They're not at all related to real estate. So if we want to shift gears, I'm happy to go there.
Let's shift gears a little bit. I want to hear more about his life, and also I want to talk to him a little bit about coaching. But go ahead, Brian.
Yeah. So one, with sports, Brent, you mentioned that you ended up in a wheelchair. So what is the most gruesome injury you've ever seen throughout your skating career?
That I've ever seen? I've seen nothing too bad. I've just seen snapped ankles, stuff like that. I had one of our friends get our finger cut off on the ice. That was kind of cool.
How did that happen?
Skate? Yeah, a guy and a girl, and they were skating, and they both fell, and her hand went up against the board, and his blade came through and chopped her finger off. It got reattached though.
Well, that's great. This show is right around lunchtime right now, so that should be good for the folks listening live.
Her finger's a little twisted now, but she's good.
Hey, a miracle of modern science.
Right.
So bringing it back a little bit to real estate. So as a realtor myself, and in property management in particular, we get some interesting stories. I wanted to ask you as a realtor, what's been your either most entertaining or most interesting real estate related transaction or occurrence?
For some reason, I have a habit of walking in on people going to the bathroom when I do I don't know why. I mean, okay, it's happened a handful of times, but it stands out. You knock, you're there, it's supposed to be vacant, there's tenants there, you walk in, and they're like a lady's in the shower or something, like, oh my God. I've walked in, had people face me. You're
lucky you haven't been shot. We are in Texas,
Yeah, I know. You should believe me. Every time I'm like sitting there knocking, I'm like, hello, and I'm like yelling, and I'm not getting shot. I haven't had that crazy of career, because I'm more the cautious rule follower type. So I'm going to go through and make sure that, hey, am I doing this correctly? We're not allowed to get in shouting matches with other agents or anything like that. So I don't have anything that crazy. And I do think that's because my broker has gone through hell, and he's educated us on all the mistakes he's made in his career. And that's been a lifesaver for us. So to keep us from making the same mistakes.
It's a good broker right there.
Yep. Well, he doesn't want to get sued.
Right.
Yeah.
He's no dummy.
Nope.
So tell me, go ahead, Brian.
No, I was just going to say, Lennon, if you want to dive into some coaching aspects, let's go there.
I do, but I'm gonna kind of stay with coaching, but I want to tell me, Brent, as far as new agents coming on and you observing, we talked about commonalities before the show started, and what are some commonalities that you see that those people that are high achievers have, that new people coming in need to really embrace and get on that bandwagon?
Yeah, I would say just communication, reaching out to people. Sometimes you can just see it in their eyes, right? There was an agent I recruited. He was a soccer star, and you could just tell that energy he had about him. I was like, oh, this kid's gonna, he's only like 19, but he's gonna kill it. And, along the way, as he's in school, he's texting me, hey, how's it going? I hope you guys still have a position for me. And you're just like, oh, this kid's, he follows up. He's on top of stuff. He's hungry. He really wants to get at it. And I think that's what people need to really look for, right? I mean, anybody can do okay, but it's people that have that drive, that passion, that you can just feel it burning inside of them. That's where they're going to become really, really good agents. And you know, you just have to let them know, hey, it might take you a couple of years to really find your stride, but just stay with it. Because I was one of those agents. It took me a long time, a really long time to get going. And that was that mentality of getting kicked in the teeth, and you just keep coming and coming, and you don't stop. So that's kind of where I can empathize with other agents coming on board. Like, no, don't give up. It takes a while.
So how important then is mindset in coming in and knowing that you better have your Band-Aids and your bandages ready, because you are going to get kicked in the teeth. How are you going to respond? I mean, is mindset one of those commonalities that separates the exceptional from the acceptable?
Yeah, mindset, drive, just the mind of a champion, right? Like, who do they really want it, or do they just want to say they want it, right? Because you can say, oh, I want to be a mega agent. I want to produce $40-50 million a year. Okay, great, right? Well, I want to, you know, win a strongman competition. It's not. I don't really want to. So,
it'd be cool if you did, but you know.
So
you got the talent for it, Brent. You just got to work for it.
I do. I just have to want it more. You know, so I mean, just mindset is huge, right? And what we really try to encourage our agents, and it's not anything that we invented, right? But it's find your why. What's your reason for doing what you want to do? Why do you want to become a multi-million-dollar producer? Is it just you want the money? Okay, you want the money. What do you want that money for? What are you doing with that? Do you like cars? Are you passionate about cars? Do you like on vacations? Do you want to buy a big house? You know, what is it that you want to achieve and get financial freedom? And once you figure out that why, then you're willing to work for it. But if you don't have that, there's no point.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit, and then I am going to transition back to the coaching part, which is going to have a lot to do with this.
Okay.
What about habits and behaviors? The differences between those that do an acceptable job and those that do an exceptional job. And I'm talking about the people that want to be exceptional. Some people are just okay being acceptable, doing enough to get enough, right? That's kind of what you talked about. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that's your balance, if that's where your happy spot is, that's good. But what are some habits and behaviors that you've been able to observe, not only through real estate, but through your performance and coaching? Because again, those commonalities are why we reach different levels, why we level up. So talk a little bit about what you've observed that really stood out to you.
People never taking sick days, right? You're sick, you make it work, get online, you know, call it in, just make sure it gets done. You know, people pushing through injuries in skating, and, you know, whether that's smart or not, but it's the people that don't care if they're injured. They just want to be there. You know, time blocking and time management, right? Did you accomplish what you needed to do? Did you get the most important thing that you have to do every day? Did you get that done at the beginning of the day? So when time runs out, you don't have to worry about, you know, the small things that didn't get accomplished. You know, and then it just depends. It's a little different, but like, do they have a natural leadership ability? You know, you see that in a lot of people that, you know, once they come in, maybe they're not the most high talent. You know, they're not the biggest producers, but they're leaders. They're natural born leaders, and people will follow and do what they say. So that's also another thing that we look for to see. So that can be like a habit, not necessarily a habit, more a trait, right? Their leadership quality. And I would just say time blocking and following through with what you say you're going to do. If you say you're going to accomplish this goal, then you better do it.
Okay. So the two things that I've always talked about since I started this show, for me, over being an entrepreneur for 30 years and working and coaching real estate agents, the two most important things that I felt like always made the difference was mindset and time management. I love that you say that. One of the things that I feel is such a valuable part of time management is how we can adapt and adjust what we're doing. When you talked about earlier about working smarter, not harder. If you're working 15 hours a day and you've convinced yourself that you're doing all you can do, but you're not getting the results. If you have proper time management, can we look back on that and go, okay, I need to remove this and replace it with something that can be more effective. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, your time is the most precious commodity you have, right? So you better make sure you're using it in the wisest way possible. And I'm not saying I'm the greatest at that. All right. I mean, I do plenty of screwing around on YouTube and wasting time.
We're all a work in progress on time management. That's the truth.
For sure. But I mean, I'm just an example of, if you want to spend, 4 hours a day going door knocking, okay, that could be a good use. But if you're afraid to knock on the doors and you're just leaving a flyer there or a card, okay, so you wasted your time. You're not going to really get much from that. So anything that you do, you need to see if there's a high reward for it, right? That's why, sending somebody just a mass email is not as effective as a phone call, but that takes more time, but you're going to get a better result from that. So yeah, I mean, just use your time wisely. It's the most limited resource we have. And if it's something that takes a lot of time and you don't have it, then leverage it out. Get a virtual assistant. Hire somebody. Hire like a transaction coordinator or an administrator, something to do that tedious stuff, and you leverage it all out to where you can just go do what you need to do to bring in the leads, bring in the revenue, and really expand your business.
When you talked a little bit about this, I think earlier, but do you think that we have a struggle sometimes on working on the things that we enjoy, spending a lot of time doing that, and avoiding the things that put us put us outside of our comfort zone that we need to do? And how do we learn to embrace the suck, as some people say? I don't think that it sucks, but I want to expand my comfort zone, right? How do you guys help your agents see that and work on that?
So, I mean, I think that's great, right? I mean, like you said, embrace the suck. And it does suck, though. It really does when you're doing stuff that you don't like. And some of the stuff does become more comfortable, and some of it you just never feel comfortable, but it's necessary. One thing we just launched is we launched a productivity group for our agents, and it's 100% voluntary, right? Who wants to come in and report on what they're doing and to be held accountable and hold me accountable? And we're going to say, hey,
that's awesome.
Yeah. How many calls did you make? How many contacts did you make? Did you add anybody to your database? What are you doing to grow? And we make it 100% voluntary because we're here to support these agents. If they want to sell just one house a year, that's fine. That's up to them. We're here to support them. But if they really want to grow, then they need to be held accountable. Because like you said, the uncomfortable things suck and people will tend not to do it. But if there's somebody you have to answer to, you're more likely to do those things that suck, right? Just like dieting, right? If nobody wants to eat correctly, right? But if you have, your wife every day tells you that she's going to leave you if you gain a pound, then you're going to watch your diet. I mean, there's always something. Like, Brian's wife's on him. That's why he's so skinny.
Well, I know Joan personally, so I can see her saying that to you, yeah. Brent. So,
yes, good.
So let's talk about coaching now. I mean, obviously you came out. I think I could safely say that I think most coaches go into coaching because some coaches made an influence an impact in their life along the way. And I think that's where we feel like that it's such a rewarding career while we're doing it. What led you to coaching? And then once you got into coaching, what was it about it that you truly enjoyed?
So, I mean, not the greatest answer for why I got into it, but I got into it for the money. It pays well.
Honestly, yes, it does.
$80, $90, $100 an hour, and when you're, 19 or even younger, at the time, I think I was making back when I was 18, I was making $60 an hour. It's great. It's great money. It's easy. You're already down there. So why not? So I think it's something that I fell back on, and a lot of coaches do, right? It's all they know. Mm-hmm. They grew up with it. So that's what they know. But luckily, after we got off tour with Disney on Ice, I ended up hooking up with some Russian coaches here that are the top developmental coaches in the country. And so I got involved in their camp, their high-level camp. And, it was nice being able to pass on my expertise to them, stuff I've learned in the past. But after a while, it turned into more of like, psychology sessions with the kids, therapy sessions, and just I became less interested in watching them succeed in skating and more interested in seeing them succeed in life. And, because when you're in athletics, it can get unbalanced pretty quickly, right? They can just, the parents screaming at the kids, they'll thank me later, stuff like that. And so it's kind of like, well, we see the big picture. We see kids that, even if they make it to the top, we know people that are Olympic champions. They're still just coaching, making their $80, $90 an hour. It's not like they, have NBA money or anything like that. And so the problem is if they get pushed too hard, they don't have a good relationship with their parents. They don't have a good relationships with themselves. And it's not worth it. I see that. So it's like push yourself, but stay balanced. Family's so important. Go get your education, take care of that stuff. And that may not be what most people want to hear, but it's what they need to hear.
I agree. And I will have to say that coaching high school football, you don't make $60, $70, $80 an hour.
Right.
I wish you did. Now, when I was personal training, I did, and that was awesome too. But
there you go.
Yeah, high school football coaches, the head coaches in Texas, they make quite a bit, but us little assistant coaches, we didn't. We made gas money, I guess you could say that. So you said something, and you talked about the psychological side of it, and I think that I don't think coaches get enough credit for that part of our job. And you're especially with the young people, you are constantly dealing with their challenges to their own self-esteem and confidence, because I went through that through high school, and I got into college, and I got a coach that really helped me with my own confidence. And I never forgot that when I started coaching. And that's something that I was aware of. And you can see it. Like you said, they're getting pulled in so many directions. They're failing on so many different levels. And they're being coached by the coaches. They're being coached by their parents. They're being, things are being said by their own players and teammates. And staying inside of that mind and that mindset and helping them, because if they believe they can do it, they're going to be more likely to succeed. If they don't, it's over regardless of talent. And one last, we got about 8 minutes left, and I wanted to I want to give you guys a chance to talk a little bit more about y'all's relationship and how y'all work together. So Brian, do you have anything as far as any more questions for him before y'all start talking?
Well, no, at one point, I just wanted to throw in there your comment about coaches, right, and coaching in general. Ask you guys, so who is your most memorable coach, and did they help you, and why? Because I can tell you personally, the best coaches that I ever had, I grew up playing sports just like you guys, didn't make it to any professional or necessarily collegiate levels, but the most important coaches to me weren't the ones who made me a better player. They were the ones who made me a better person, made me think differently, going back and kind of circling back to the previous part of the conversation, made you a little bit uncomfortable, right? Embracing that suck part of whether it's working hard or learning something about yourself or your teammates that you didn't necessarily know or want to know in the past or previously. So question you guys, think about your favorite coach or best coach. Why were they the best coach?
Brent, you go first on that.
I would just say the ones because they pushed me beyond my comfort zone. I wouldn't say that I had the typical, I'm going to look back fondly on all my coaches and be like, this is the one that really changed my life, and I'm going to go call him one day. It's not going to happen, but so I don't have the best answer on that one. But I guess the ones that pushed me the hardest.
I was about to get the movie script all drawn up. Come on, man.
We'll make a movie, all right. That's off air talk.
Well, for me, it's actually, Brian, two people. One was a high school assistant coach that, and I've told people this story. When I graduated high school, I was 5'8", about 130 pounds, and I was really, really slow. And for some crazy reason, I decided to walk on to the football team, and it's mainly because of Coach Jackson. He helped me believe in myself. That was a crazy thing to do, but I got to college, And our assistant coach at the time, who ended up being the head coach, his name was Tommy Barnes. And I told the story before. One of the coaches there my freshman year told me I needed to quit football because I was never going to be a starter. I was never going to play. I was never going to contribute. And I just needed to go and study, get my degree. And I asked him if he's kicking me off the team. And he said, no, we need blocking dummies. So you're free. You know, you're welcome to stay. And after that year, he got fired. And Coach Barnes and I became real close. And he really helped me with my confidence. Some of the things that Brent's saying, he really taught me about work ethic, and that if you want to be good, you got to imitate the people that are good. You've got to live their lifestyle. And he never gave up on me. And so within the next 18 months, I was actually starting. I'd worked my way up from 6th team to 1st team, and I had to battle it every day. I mean, I did. I was a walk-on that became a starter over scholarship athletes. And
Wow.
They were always trying to replace me with the guys that they'd given the scholarships out of. So I had to reprove myself almost on a daily basis. But Coach Barnes he was an incredible man, and he didn't just do that for me. He did that for everybody. And I'll never forget him. And he's someone that to this day, that I feel like I'm where I am in life because of the things that he taught me and worked with me. So. All right, we got about 3 minutes left. I'm going to let you guys tell again about how people can get in touch with you, Brett. Whether it's a new agent looking for a good home, or maybe somebody looking to buy or sell a home. Talk to them about that, and then I'll close this out.
Yep. Yeah, if you want to reach out to me, you can send me an email at brentonholdburg@kw.com. It's BrentonHoldburg@kw.com, or send me a text, probably a text, 972-567-3198. And I'd love to do a Zoom interview and help you there. Or if you want to go find a home, sounds good. By the way, I use Brian exclusively for all my property management needs, because he does the things that I don't want to do.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Brent, it was great having you on the show today, and hope to have you on again. Brian, tell everybody again how they can get in touch with you, and then I'll close this out.
Absolutely. So if you're in need of property management, or even thinking about potentially renting out your home or office, please reach out. We can have an initial discussion. Real Property Management Focus. We focus on your real estate investments. You can reach me at 469-820-0088 or www.realpmfocus.com. All
right. Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. We had a pretty good audience watching. Really appreciate the comments, the shares, the likes, and sticking with us. This is a great show that Brian Poduska's put together on Real Talk with Brian Poduska, and we will be back again next week, Thursday at 1:00. So until then, you guys have a good week.